If the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say this was their finest hour.
We stand for Queen,
country, and video games. BRB UK.
Worse teeth,
better accents.
Hello, and indeed a half episode of the Big Red Barrel UK podcast, because that's what this is. It's another half episode of the Big Red Barrel UK podcast. I am Coleman. Hi. I did all that without breathing, if you can believe that. Anyway, yes, another half episode, 251.5, I do believe, and I should believe because I know, because I'm the one who puts these damn shows together. New half episode brings a new interview, although, saying new interview, to Andrew Benison from Prospect Games. He has been on the show twice before. He was on our EGX special back in 2015, and he was on the show last year in 2016 to talk to myself and Tim about a little game called Unbox. So the first time he was talking about the Steam Greenlight campaign that he was going through, and then the last time it was about launching the game on PC. Now, Unbox, with a new name, Unbox Newbie's Adventure, is coming to the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, and the Nintendo Switch. How exciting. Yeah, I'm going to play a noise. You're going to hear a Tim. You're going to hear an Andrew. They're going to talk some Unbox. It's going to be great. No, it is actually great. I've already listened to it, so put these shows together as I already pre-mentioned, hey.
Yes, and as Mr. Coleman alluded to there, we are back with another interview, and this time I have another returning guest, and I believe this is your hat trick, sir, if I'm correct.
Yeah, third time's the charm, hopefully.
Third time's charmed, or third time lucky. Maybe I'll get the interview right this time. We'll see. But without further ado, let me introduce Mr. Andrew Benison. Yeah, I think the first time we met you was at EGX, if that's correct?
In 2015, so it's been a while.
Yeah, so going back a couple of years now. And you've been and caught up with us again and chatted with us on the show at one point, and now you're back to do another one of the interview slots, although we do interviews slightly differently than we did before, basically. But you have to let us know what you think of the new format, Andrew.
I will do.
It's your turn to criticise what we do, see? Kind of works back round again, basically. It's the opposite way round to normal, but hey.
Usually we get abuse hurled at us, so it'll be good to be throwing some of that back.
To be throwing some back.
Yeah.
Well, see, I'm glad, on past history, you're already thinking of hurling abuse, so that's already a ringing endorsement.
It's been on my mind for a while, to be honest, so just glad to have this opportunity.
So the first time we met you, I think, was just before the launch, I think. Well, actually, no, not even just before. I think it was a bit before the launch of Unbox.
Exactly a year.
Yeah, okay, exactly a year was it before the launch.
Yeah, and then the second time was, I think, again, just before the launch, or it was just afterwards.
Around the launch window, let's say. Let's use that vernacular.
Okay, agreed.
Before we move on to what's sort of your next project, and we'll come on to that in a second, how did the launch of Unbox go, and what was that like for you as an experience as a game developer?
Pretty terrifying, to be honest. Pretty daunting, because it was kind of my first proper game launch, and as the MD of Prospect, it wasn't just, we're launching a game. It's like, this will determine if my company continues and if my hopes and dreams can carry on and flourish. So it was pretty terrifying, especially because we were doing it very indie, like it was all on us to make it a success. And launching a 3D platformer on PC, on Steam, which is not kind of where your target demographic for 3D platformers lie. It was a tough sell. Fortunately, we managed to garner what coverage we could, including Big Red Barrel, which was great. We had YouTubers like Yogscast and DanTDM playing the game, and so just overall the coverage was enough, and the sort of a minor amount of virality there let us get the game out to enough people, and it kind of justified us bringing it to Xbox, PlayStation, and then once it was announced, we were like, ooh, we should bring it to Switch. So now we are. And so, yeah, it was like, oh, this is a nice surprise. It fits. So it was quite an experience, and it's weird to I think it's been about 9-10 months since that launch. It's weird to be back here again, launching in, it's about 2 weeks time. Yeah, just about 2 weeks time.
Okay.
So it's kind of weird to be back here, and even though it was only a year ago, I feel like I've changed a lot. The company's changed, hopefully all for the better, but it's just weird to be back, like doing it's weird, like launching the same game again. Like, it is a bit different, like we've optimized it, we've added some content, but it's kind of like I've gone back in time and on doing it again, but with like more information than the first time around.
Let's tackle the thing head on then, basically. Unbox Newbie's Adventure is the kind of latest, and you say latest version of the game. Is it including all the stuff that you've released previously and extra stuff, or what's exactly in the box with the Unbox this time?
Yes, so it's largely the same game. It's a 3D platformer about the Ultimate Postal Service, self-delivering cardboard boxes. So you've got giant worlds full of challenges, collectibles, boss battles, Easter eggs, all the things you'd expect from a classic 90s platformer. And we've also got a big local multiplayer component where you've got racing, arena battling, tournaments, you know, the like quintessential blow your mates up on a couch sort of thing, and maybe swear at them. So it's the same game. We've just optimized it for consoles. We've added a bit of extra multiplayer content, some cosmetics. We've got some other things that we'd like to do if the launch is successful. And of course, we've always been thinking about, it'd be great to do a sequel. We've not announced it, and again, it hinges on how well we do in two to 3 weeks time. So that's essentially the product. So it's not particularly different. The main difference is that we're actually selling it to the people who want it, as opposed to Steam gamers who, you know, want to play Team Fortress and those sorts of games.
Did you go through the whole greenlight process with that? That's one thing I wasn't sure about.
When we spoke the first time, we were in the middle of our greenlight campaign.
That's what I thought.
It was going pretty well. We got to number 2 on the charts. We got beaten by a fake Chinese game, which kind of summarized. We never got to number 1 because there was a fake game ahead of us, and it kind of perfectly summarized the negativity of the greenlight experience. Was like, you know, you can have a great game, people love it, but you're still going to get bested by, you know, a hunk of crap to the side. So I'm honestly not surprised that they've ditched the system. I don't really know if the replacement's any better. It doesn't feel it, but I've not really, you know, I've not been through that system yet either. So
you said console. Is it PS4 and Xbox One for the moment? Yeah. Yep.
On July 26th, we're doing physical release as well for PlayStation in Europe and America, and a signature edition for PlayStations, which is basically a special edition with our signatures on it. You've got a making of, art book, CD, a cool little coin with an Unbox logo on it. You know, the essentials, nice. You know, that you really need in life. So
all the essentials. Yeah. It should come in a big cardboard box. That's generally, that should be the best accessory, surely.
We are asking our distribution partners like Amazon and whatnot to find the biggest boxes, like colossally big. I mean, they have to like roll it towards you. It's not good enough just to deliver. It has to be launched through a window at you at high speed.
See, the next stage is that you need to design self-delivering boxes for Amazon to deliver your game about self-delivering boxes.
We could basically just, illegally employ people to just sit in boxes and roll around in them. So it's sort of like a breach of human rights. But, you know, if we target the weak and vulnerable, we can get them to kind of bring the experience to life. In a way.
Well, look, we got another 4 years of Tory government. I'm sure you could implement that in time. That's fine.
Yeah, give it a shot, yeah.
One thing that we were talking about before the show, and as we've already launched into the world of politics, what's it been like for you as a game developer, particularly someone launching a new company, which is, you know, as you alluded to, already a bit of a scary venture, in the kind of background of Brexit and everything else that's going on? What's that like for you as a game developer at the moment?
I think it's been really interesting because I think the kind of mainstream reaction, and it's certainly more amplified in certain communities and definitely within games, has been this sort of non-stop hysteria. Pretty much like since, because I don't think many people really thought it was going to go through as of like June of last year, and then as soon as it was like, yep, it's happening, this hysteria started that just hasn't really settled down. And within games, it's been, you know, it's really been focused on the ability for, I think, people to come and go and be able to work. Because obviously the games industry it's very mobile, and I don't just mean like we develop mobile games, but like you're not expected to be in one place for long, and there's a lot of people who, you know, will go to countries and come back and forth. So I think there's been a lot of concern over that kind of stuff. The part that really gets to me is everybody across the board making these wild, you know, like, oh, the pound has dropped and this means it's the end of Earth, and it's like, no, it doesn't. And if the pound went up, it doesn't mean it's, you know, glory to the United Kingdom forever and ever. Like, you know, the markets fluctuate and change, and so from a personal and sort of business perspective, it's so far not really affected myself or Prospect, but then nothing's actually really happened yet. You know, we're not in selective negotiations yet. No rules or laws have been changed yet. So could things really affect companies and people in the near future? Potentially, yeah. I know of a few cases of kind of, because of those currency fluctuations, that affecting people's business. Like if you work largely with client bases outside of Britain and you were forecasting to make so much, but now currencies change, it's like, okay.
Right, that makes a big difference, the big amounts of money, basically.
Sure, yeah, but I always think, well, if it wasn't Brexit, it's something else. Like, you know, if the currency's going up and down constantly, you know, obviously it's not nice when it comes out of the blue, and I think that's further compounded when you can go, oh, these people caused that, but it's like, well, it's always people causing it. It's just this one was a bit more predictable.
Does that make a difference when you're selling a game on Steam? Like, does it affect your return, or does that all come in the currency you're in anyway?
I don't know how much I'm allowed to talk about what goes on behind, because that's the thing. Like with all of the platforms, they all have the various things that we can't actually
you got
discuss.
to sign and what's name. Okay, look, we don't want to get you in any trouble and hunted down by Valve technicians.
Yeah, let's not tempt fate. But I think
gravity guns and stuff. So yeah, let's not tempt fate. Yeah,
I get portaled.
We'll stay away from that one. But yeah, well, that's something I'd be interested in, and how it affected your bottom line as a business, and in those sort of terms. Because yeah, if you were forecasting your sales and stuff.
I guess what I can say is we didn't feel any kind of like tangible effect, and the US was has been our biggest market so far, and we also did things. We were in like the Humble Gems bundle in November, and that was, they're an American organization. It didn't really affect us that much, but then we don't need much to get by.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, we really haven't experienced it, and it was interesting at the GamesIndustry.biz Summit in September of last year, so actually at EGX, they had a panel where they got business leaders, so it was people from like Miniclip and the guys who are running the UK Games Fund, and they got them up on stage to discuss this and go like, well, how has it affected you thus far? And pretty much everybody there, when it not only hasn't affected us negatively, it's actually been positive in some regards. So, which I was surprised by people saying that. I think, and the host was as well. But it was interesting to see that, okay, there's indie devs like myself who aren't really feeling any kind of massive hit, nor are the established companies. Again, I think a part of that comes down to, well, nothing's actually happened yet. You know, there's been,
yeah.
I think culturally a lot has happened. But in terms of actual law and... Yeah,
there's not actually many, as you say, law changes that have actually come into effect yet.
No, basically. And even with the recent election, it's like, well, it's still the Conservatives in power. You know, that's not really any different.
We're kind of in this weird limbo period where I guess we just don't know what the deals will be going forward, basically. Yeah, I mean, I wonder how it affects, because don't you have like a shared agreement that you have to sign up for now to sell in different regions for tax purposes and all that sort of stuff?
Like I said, nothing's changed thus far. I'd expect, again, all of that is to come, but I'm not really... I guess none of us are really privy to it's out. And organisations like Yuki and Tiger, they're sort of not trade bodies, I don't know what to call them, but they're basically advocates for the games industry.
Yeah.
So they've been instrumental in helping us.
They kind of do pose themselves as trade bodies. I'm not sure if they're exactly anti that description, but yeah, like you say, they're not quite that in either regard. Basically, they're not quite up to the level of a normal sort of trade body. But yeah, okay. So look, let's leave a bit of politics behind. They've all got to be serious for a moment. Let's get back to the boxes. So you did say that you were kind of hopeful with your first game that you'd get to kind of live out your dreams and stuff. Has it felt like a dream in this period, or and it seems like if you're going into your next project, that you are now continuing and have been as successful enough to continue doing so.
I guess it's felt surreal and nightmarish at points, so kind of like the opposite of a good dream. I can't really see myself doing anything else. Like I've done a lot of like menial work, and I've done working in offices for others, and I despised pretty much every second of it. So I guess I am living my dream in that I've got a business, and I've got an office, and I've got staff, and we're working on
and a bit of freedom.
I want to say yes,
somewhat.
It's a really a double-edged sword. It's like it's a common misconception a lot of people have, that if you have your own business, that you are like this soaring eagle, and it's like your options are far more limited than if you're at a company, like a century-old company like Nintendo. It's like they've got freedom, like they can do some wacky stuff.
Yeah, they can do what they want.
yeah. I mean, from publishing to making consoles to games to whatever, like they can do it. Whereas we have, I think for us, I've had a lot of hard decisions over the past sort of year to keep the company going, and I've felt at every stage that I've had like hundreds of bad decisions that I could make, and one good decision that might work.
Yeah, and you got to find that one good decision.
And so it doesn't really feel like freedom. It feels more like I've just got to. It's like chess. Like there's only one way I'm going to win against this supercomputer called life, and so it's like, am I free, or is this just like entropy? Is this just matter converging? Do I have any? Yeah, it's all very. It can get nihilistic.
We all got a bit deep again.
Yeah.
Look, I'm a small business owner myself. I fully understand what you're saying there, but it's more freedom to put yourself in the box that you want to put yourself in, and knowing that you've put yourself in there and that you need to kind of, make your bed, lie in it, and get on with it, basically.
Yeah, the freedom to succeed as well as to fail, whereas and to have chosen the methodology of success or failure is something that you only really get doing this. Yeah.
Interesting. Right. So yeah, let's roll on into the new game and etc. etc. Like, what's your hopes with going into this? What are you looking forward to from the process? What are your fears? Like, what's your thoughts on what you see going forward, basically?
With launching on consoles.
Unbox Newbie's Adventure on consoles, and in the future possibly Switch, or well, actually Switch.
Yeah. I mean, it is coming, and I guess really this is it. Like the Steam launch was part litmus test, part we need to get the game out, and we're not ready to launch it on the other platforms. So if we don't, we're dead.
It seems to be a lot of the way the game developers go. That's the route to development. They develop through PC first, then come to console.
I don't know if that's going to be an option moving forwards, just because it's becoming so much harder, month on month to make money from PC. And really, when we say that, we mean Steam.
Yeah,
it's becoming extremely difficult. On the flip side, any publisher will tell you do SimShip, like launch all of your your SKUs or products at the same time.
Yeah, so you're only advertising one thing.
You maximize on the marketing, but unfortunately, that does mean that you need to have got the game working on multiple platforms, and if there's 3 of you in a bedroom or whatever just tinkering away, it's a case of good luck without some major support. So ideally we wouldn't have done Unbox in this manner. It's just the way it worked out, and so this is really it in terms of
this feels like the proper launch.
It does, even though we've lost a bit of oomph with the first launch. Like, we're getting so much more of a response from press and influencers and podcasts like this, for example, like that. It's all. I did this exact process this time last year, launched on Steam, and it was a harrowing experience because 98% of people I spoke to didn't even respond. It not only felt like nobody wanted to cover us, it felt like nobody liked us or liked the product. Like, it's very easy to take this stuff personally.
Yeah, and I think it's really difficult. I think discoverability is a major issue for game developers the other day, and I had a conversation with someone that was related to someone that we had in a previous podcast. I won't go fully into it, but on Twitter, and they were asking, it was actually Rami Ismail, who's very good at kind of reaching out and helping other indie developers and stuff. And as a conversation, he said, look, what's your biggest fear and going forward as a game developer? And he was kind of asking other game developers. And another game developer chimed in about getting their product known and out there and stuff like that. And he was saying, coming to the end of development, and we need to know how to market it, type thing. I was like, whoa, if you're coming to the end of development and marketing, you're doing it wrong. Unfortunately, that wasn't quite the case. They had been doing other stuff and stuff like that. But it's a real difficult thing. I mean, you can have the best game in the world, and if no one gets to play it and no one gets to see it, then it's a hard thing. It's a hard sell kind of thing.
Well, especially as well when the majority of developers are very introverted, and they don't want to do that side of things.
Yeah.
Nor do they have the money to pay for somebody like myself who's happy to chat for hours on end and do all this kind of stuff. So it's a double-edged sword. And then there's the outliers that just make it completely unfair. So, for example, when we launched in September, just before us, a game called What the Box came out by a lovely chap. His name escapes me, but he made a game the year before where he marketed the hell out of it, and no one covered it, and it died a death. So with What the Box, which was basically a game where you also play as cardboard boxes, but it's like Prop Hunt in CS, but you're all trying to kill each other
as
boxes in in piles of boxes, so you can basically hide as a box. And so he did no marketing for it at all. And within 24 hours of it coming out on Steam, he had a Jacksepticeye, PewDiePie, Markiplier, and one of the others did a joint video, and it super exploded. And I don't think it was one of these things where I don't think the game was substantial enough that it's gone like Rocket League, where it still has hundreds and thousands of people playing it. But it's those kind of circumstances.
It's a silly thing for everyone to laugh at for 24 hours, and it robs you of the limelight type thing. Is that?
Oh no, it didn't rob us. No, more my point was just that it's so it feels very unfair when you put all this effort into marketing a game. And this guy, even because we had a chat, because we were like, oh, we've both got cardboard box games. That's crazy. In the same month, and he was like, yeah, I tried so hard to market my previous game. I did everything, all the tutorials, and all the people on Twitter said, and it didn't work. With this, I didn't even send. He said I didn't send a single email, and it did very well. This is while we're sending like 100 emails a day. And yeah, so it's one of these things where like it just doesn't seem fair, because you can actually tick all of the boxes
and just get unlucky with it.
Yeah, it's but again, I'm not saying I always feel like it comes down to the developer. Like, you make luck, and if you don't put the effort in, or if you don't try, you're setting the odds against you. So we didn't make it easy for ourselves with our first launch, and that's entirely down to us, not anybody else, and certainly not the fault of reviewers or consumers for not loving us hard enough.
I would have thought that your game would have gone well with the streaming audience and stuff, basically. 90s platformer-esque and, silly kind of comic stuff going on. I would have thought it played reasonably well.
And those who did pick it up, like Dan TDM and Yogscast, they did have a good time with it. Dan did a couple of videos, actually, so it went well. But I think a lot of the console streamers, they stream off of consoles, and they don't actually have PCs rigged and set up for PC gaming.
Yeah, so it's a bit more difficult.
Yeah, so it was one of these things where I've had since September, I mean way before September, but especially since September, multiple emails and multiple tweets almost every single day for 9-10 months straight now of people going, when's it coming to Xbox?
Where's the console version?
Yeah.
Where's the console version?
And so I think it's a case of like, yeah, it will go down well with them, and that's why this time around, I mean, I've had so many people coming to us. In September and the run-up, it was me purely contacting. Nobody was coming to us saying, oh, I love the look of your game. This time around, it's the complete opposite, because people do know it, people can see it, and I think they are seeing the value of, oh, my channel would appreciate a 3D platform, because, there's a revival going on, but outside of Yooka-Laylee and upcoming Mario, there's not actually that many games out. Stuff like Hat in Time, we've been waiting for like 5 years. So I think we fill a void in the 3D platforming world quite nicely.
Dialing it back a little bit and going all the way back to kind of the origins of Unbox, we've mentioned 90s platforms a few times, but what are your kind of most direct influences, would you say? Because I feel like I kind of pick up a Katamari vibe, even though you're not kind of picking up bigger things. It kind of reminds me of that a little bit. But what were your actual influences?
I think I'll try to identify the main ones. Definitely Super Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie. Yeah. Mario Kart 64 as well, because that's why we have that's why we have the racing in the game.
You've got the driving and stuff as well.
GoldenEye for the arena battling and kind of trying to do one over on each other and on all that kind of stuff. Marble Blast Ultra was a huge one.
Yes, okay, yeah, I see that.
Sounds more from the 360 days, but Chris and I are huge Marble Blast Ultra fans. Jack brought a lot of stuff from Doom, because he played Doom as a kid. He was our lead designer, didn't play platformers when he was a kid. It was all the rest of us.
Right, okay.
There's a lot of the design of some of the maps and like the hidden secrets and all that kind of stuff, like that was all...
That's old school Doom.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
He's also he's a huge racing gamer and worked at Cody's for a while, which is why there's drivable vehicles and like rallycross sections in the game. So I think those are the main ones. I mean, yeah, there is stuff like Katamari and Halo and Rocket League, much more contemporary things where we looked at those games and saw a cool element. Like in Rocket League, you always have an arrow pointing out of your car, pointing at the ball, so that you don't become disorientated. Well, in Unbox, there's a glowing arrow that you can choose to make stick out your box that points towards the main challenges in the game, in order for you to so you don't get lost. Where the core critical path is to get through the game is. And that was, was hitting two birds with one stone. It was sorting the problem that a lot of modern day games have, and especially 3D platformers, including Yooka-Laylee, where giant environments doesn't necessarily mean the player's going to have more fun. fun, it means it's harder to navigate, and also it can become really disorientating in those spaces if you've got lots of things distracting you. That arrow helps solve both of those issues for us.
Yeah, I guess with a kind of, I won't say faceless, because they have faces often, your little boxes, cute little faces, but yeah, without a kind of with a human character, there's a very much a defined front and back, which is something that you're obviously lacking with your main character model in the game type thing.
Oh, completely, and that's made marketing really difficult as well, because if you show an isolated GIF of gameplay, a lot of people don't realize you're playing as the box. It's just like, why are you filming a box flying through the air? And it's like, no, that's who you are. So we've definitely, that's been a huge problem with the game in terms of our key messaging, is a lot of people see Unbox and go, oh, it's like some kind of derivative Goat Sim experience where you're just messing around in a sandbox, and it's
right.
probably made out of Unity store assets, and it's not even original. And then people play the game and they go, my God, I thought I was just gonna have 5 minutes of fun, not 20 hours of exploring giant 3D platforming worlds. And that's entirely on us. Like we didn't, the key art, the name, the characters, like. I'm not saying it's bad, but I think we could have framed things better, definitely.
And so, what's the one lesson you took from there that you're applying to Newbie's Adventure throughout the process? What's the one main thing that you've taken and applied to this new release?
Biggest one would be that name change. The fact that in September, when we launched it, then it was just called Unbox. We had a game called Unbox, and the reason Newbie's Adventure is attached to it is because, go on Google or YouTube and type in Unbox Game or Unbox PC, you will get 1,000,001 unboxing videos.
Yes, I realise the problem there. Yeah.
So from an SEO standpoint, from just a discoverability standpoint, the name Unbox, while very fitting and quaint for the game, was absolutely awful. Now, Unbox Newbie's Adventure, we're getting across the character, so we're creating, that you're playing as not necessarily a person, but you're playing as a persona, you're playing as a thing. And an adventure, it's kind of Super Mario World.
Yeah, you're doing something.
Yeah, it's like you're going on a quest and doing stuff. And that's massively helped people not only just remember what the game is, but also find it. Like people, again, the reason people are now coming to us is because they type in Unbox Newbie's Adventure and the only things that come up is us.
Is you.
Yeah. Because
discoverability is key.
Oh, huge. Don't name your game like something, don't put loads of random characters and digits in it. Don't call it some 20-word nonsensical title. And
yeah, no one can type it.
Don't call it something generic like, Death Man, because you won't find it.
That does now. See, that was one of the things, just very quickly, when we originally set up Big Red Barrel, that's one of the reasons we became Big Red Barrel, was because at the time everyone had a site called Something Gamer, and you could think of any word in the dictionary, type gamer after it, and you'd find a blog under that name, basically.
Yeah.
So we're like, we'll get away from that a little bit. Anyway, thank you very much. Remind people when and where they can get hold of Unbox Newbie's Adventure.
It's coming to Xbox and PlayStation on July 26th, and all the details of where you can get it digitally and physically on PlayStation is on our website, unboxgame.com. It's also coming to Switch later in the year. No release date yet, but if you follow us at Prospect Games on Twitter or look us up on Facebook as Prospect Games, that information will be coming sooner rather than later, or at least that's the plan.
Cool. And I was going to get you to plug your social medias, and you've already done it. See, you're a well-oiled marketing machine now, basically.
I'm barely human anymore. More machine now than man, twisted and evil.
Well, Andrew, it was very nice to catch up with you. Thank you very much for joining us. And you have to come back and tell us how it got on after Newbie's Adventure has conquered the world.
Yeah, we'll have a very cheery post-mortem.
Cool. Anyway, thank you very much. We'll catch up with you soon.
Ooh, yeah, it's another half episode down. That wasn't a Macho Man impression, by the way. That was just me saying, ooh, yeah, at the excitement of the interview itself. Andrew is a lovely bloke. Tim is a lovely bloke. Well, you know that, Tim's always on the show. And Unbox is a great game that I can't wait to play. Before I go, and I do have to go, just got to let you know a couple of things. So, if you want to go check out Unbox Newbie's Adventure for yourself, then I recommend you go over to unboxthegame.com to get all your information about that there game. You can also check out Prospect Games on Twitter, which is at Prospect Games. Nice and handy to remember that one. You can find Andrew on Twitter at ANBenison, all one word. Also, if you'd like to find Tim on Twitter, you can find him at BRBTim and myself at Dammit Coleman and Big Red Barrel at Big Red Barrel, as it says on the tin. I know that Andrew's already read out all his social links, but if I don't do this bit, then there's no point in us having the outro. We need the outro so we can play Rule Britannia and then fade out. It's kind of how these shows work. You should probably know this format by now. And this is your first episode, which, why would you start on a half episode? Maybe because you just want to listen to about Unbox. Couldn't blame you. I don't know what. I'm arguing myself now. We'll be back on Friday, the 14th of July, with a brand new episode 252 of the Big Red Barrel UK podcast. However, I won't be there. I do apologize. I know this darkens your day. I know it makes the show, I wouldn't say worse, but it's definitely lacking a Coleman, so it means it's lacking in something special. Because my mum says I'm special. And doctors also say I'm special. I start my new job. I've started my new job, and I won't be recording on Thursday because of my new job, because everything kind of clashes. But I'll work it out. We'll work it out. I'll be back soon. I'm going to leave you some great hosts in my place, but there'll still be a Dan, there'll still be a Tim, so it's not all bad, is it? Hey. Until the next episode, dear listeners, thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Andrew, for coming on the show and talking about Unbox Newbie's Adventure, a cracking game, if ever there was one. This has been episode 251.5 of the Big Red Barrel UK podcast. And until next time, dear listeners, I have been Coleman, that has been Tim, that has been Andrew, and we'll catch you next time. And goodbye.
You and your ears are quite welcome.
For the podcasting goodness that you just heard,
Why not roll on over
to BigRedBarrel.com
for more podcasts?
news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet, BigRedBarrel.com.